It happened last night, sort of midway through the second quarter. The Warriors go on to win that game, actually, 132 to 112 against the Heat. And the Warriors have been hot over the last, 3 or so weeks. Last 16 games, really. They're 12-4. They looked like they had sort of turned the corner. Jonathan Kuminga situation continues to still be a factor, and we're going to talk about that later. But that being said, they've been performing well. Jimmy Butler had been great in the minutes where Steph was off the floor, and obviously Steph Curry continues to just play at a just championship level at age 37. But Jimmy Butler, sort of how it happened, he goes up and he catches this sort of post pass on the right block, right underneath the basket. And he took a little minor bump in the air, and NBA players, get that bump each and every single time they do something like that. I think it was from Davion Mitchell, but nothing extreme about that bump. A normal just trying to contest the pass in, and he lands awkwardly on that sort of side of his knee and sort of tears it right there, and just a freak injury that is just super frustrating for a team that basically was spinning in circles for a lot of the year, but it looked like maybe they had a chance to turn their season around. And basically this game just puts a sort of the grave on top of the hole, if you know what I mean. Like, it took a season that was already struggling for the most part, right? Overall, the overall season has been a struggle for the Warriors despite their last 16 games or whatever, which is a good chunk of the season for sure. But it's coming against teams that maybe are not as primed to make a championship run. Some of the lower teams down in the bottom of the league, and they had a rough start to the season with the schedule, a lot of road games, and they turned it around coming back home. But they hadn't been able to quite fix their problems on the road. But basically, the Warriors, as I said, end up winning the game, and they put it away with two runs, probably one in the sort of midway through the third quarter, right after the injury. Steph and Podziemski sort of sparked it, and Podziemski was very good in this game. He scored 24 points. He's been on a recent heater, scoring 19 points per game over the last 4 games, 11 for 21 from 3 in that stretch, right? And he sort of took on the role that he needed to be a offensive player for the team, and he did that in that game. But that game, was very much filled on adrenaline from the injury. Whether he's going to be able to fill Jimmy Butler's role is probably something that's not going to happen, most likely, if you are the Warriors, right? And then in the fourth quarter of this game, Podziemski just completely took over the game. He had a pump fake to get Wiggins to jump into the air, and then Wiggins fouled him, right? So some crafty moves from him. He had a tough driving layup through traffic as well, right? Some very championship level MVP type guard performances from Podziemski in this game. Step back threes in both corners. I think he had one in the right corner and then in the left corner as well. He had a couple step backs. One that put the Warriors up 24, which basically ended the game at that point. But as I said, this injury is the final piece of their just very ups and down mediocre season, and they could still hang around the 8th seed, play in maybe the 6th seed area. I don't think they'll fall out. I think there's Steph Curry is just talented enough to keep them in games. But that being said, you're not going to be able to win a first round series, let alone 2, right? We talked about their brutal schedule early, but now you look at this team and getting into a series in any playoff situation, especially if you're down in the 8th seed and you have to win playing games, going up against the Thunder or maybe the Nuggets with Jokic back, it's going to be very hard for this team to do anything, substantial. And, that basically seals the deal because Jimmy Butler's out for the season and now he's going to be out. Maybe he'll be back by the start of the season. My guess is he'll miss, a month or two. We'll see. Who knows? Especially at age 37, it's going to take him longer to heal, is my guess. But that puts him at 38. And at that point, I don't know how much you're getting out of Jimmy Butler anymore. Just because, he is already declining in his production and his athleticism. And now, he still has nights where he's a championship level, and the team has been great with him on the court without Steph. But both those guys are, past their prime at this point. We'll see how much longer they play, but my guess is that this run for the Warriors is officially over with this. Or when I say this run, this era with Steph Curry is officially over with this Jimmy Butler injury. And who knows, they can put some younger pieces, some young defensive guards around Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler next season. But they're pretty high in the salary cap situation. It's going to be very hard for them to make trades and whatever. And you still have the Jonathan Kuminga situation looming over their head. And if you're at this point, right, they haven't been able to find a trade. He has to be off the team for really anything to work, just because the mood around it and the situation has gotten so out of hand. But that being said, maybe he plays over the next couple weeks. It'd be wise for Steve Kerr to put him in, see what you can get out of him. Maybe that gets some more buyers on the table and gets you in a better situation to make a trade at the deadline. Because right now there are no buyers, and more than likely than not, he's going to be on this team, and that's going to continue to eat into any sort of success that the Warriors might have. But yeah, that's enough on this situation. Just to recap, it's just unfortunate injury news. It's not a quote-unquote non-contact injury, but because there was a little bit of a bump from Davion Mitchell, but it is, one that was not, forced upon by any opponent. It was very just freak accidents that are just occurring more and more in the NBA right now. I think it's the pace of play, the athleticism. Some of these guys that are 7 feet tall and they're running around like point guards. It just, injuries are starting to pop up more and more. And, hopefully the technology and, medical situation continues to get better in the world. But that being said, I think injuries are going to continue to be on the rise.